Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd just like to note for the record that those yellow shirts on the steps are behaving a lot better than everybody else around here. It's always a good day when we have the kiddos here with us in the Capitol, and they're here for a good reason this morning that you're going to learn about and hopefully help us to get over the finish line and really supporting these kids in their future. I'm State Senator Judy Schwenk, and
It wasn't you, Judy, don't worry.
I was State Senator Judy Schwenk. And in addition to co-chairing the Early Childhood Education Caucus, I also have the great privilege of representing the 11th Senatorial District, which I like to call the heart of Berks County. First, I'd like to acknowledge so many champions from the administration that are here with us today. DHS Secretary Val Arkush. Secretary Arkush,
You're right.
off to my right. Thank you for being here, Val. Labor and Industry Secretary Walker. There she is. Department of Corrections Secretary Harry. The Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs Secretary Davis Jones. And Deputy Secretary Fitterer from the Pennsylvania Department of Education. Pretty good turnout from our administration, and we're very appreciative because we know they truly are our champions when it comes to the issue of early childhood education. I'm here with my fellow co-chairs, Senator Pat Stefano, Representative Pat Harkins, and Representative Shelley Labs. The Early Childhood Education Caucus is a bipartisan, bicameral group of lawmakers working to support early childhood educators and ensure that every child and parent has access to the high-quality, affordable child care they deserve. And really, this is an issue for both parties and the governor agree on. We all understand that the state of child care in Pennsylvania must change. Low pay for childhood educators, long wait lists, and high prices for parents are just a few of the major problems we need to address at the state level. We also have representatives from Pennsylvania's business community, the military, and law enforcement today, which just goes to show the breadth of support early childhood education has in the Commonwealth. There's really a broad understanding that investments in child care are good for children, good for parents, Pennsylvania's economy, and our long-term success. I'm a longtime advocate for early care and education because I've seen the need in my district and the need in my own family. Parents and guardians need reliable care to have the freedom they need to provide for their families and earn the higher education or vocational skills they need to increase their earning potential. Early education gives these kids a head start. These kids thrive on their interactions with their teachers and other students, and that helps them make the transition to pre-K or first grade that much easier. Like many sectors, child care providers were hit hard by the pandemic and are yet to fully recover. Many providers were struggling before the pandemic hit, and the problems they have to contend with are even worse now. Thankfully, we've been able to work together in this building to support early childhood education. Last year, we expanded the Child and Dependent Care Enhancement Tax Credit, returning thousands of dollars to working families to help with child care costs. Now, we have an opportunity to build on that success as we consider this year's budget. Investing in early childhood teacher recruitment and retention. I'm going to repeat that. Early childhood teacher recruitment and retention is badly needed in Pennsylvania. Keep in mind that at least 18 other states have taken similar steps to address staffing shortages and stabilize their child care sectors. Don't you think it's time for Pennsylvania to join them? Yes. Please take note of that particular part of our message. If we don't invest in our child care workforce, our classrooms will close. We will not have teachers, and certainly not the kind of quality teachers that we see sitting up on these steps here today. It's absolutely essential, and this is our big ask in this year's budget. Governor Shapiro, as part of his budget proposal, is calling for increasing the child care subsidy rates to the 75th percentile of the current price families pay for child care services, and rate increases for our pre-K counts and Head Start supplemental assistance programs. All good things that will support our child care sector, and we thank him for that. But we have further to go, guys. The Early Childhood Education Caucus is committed to doing all that we can to support providers, teachers, students, and parents, but we can't do it alone. We're thankful that we have some great advocates from throughout the Commonwealth with us today to share their perspectives. And when I get the opportunity, I will also introduce all of my colleagues who made the effort to stand here today with us, because they understand too, certainly for their constituents, this is an issue that matters. So now I'd like to introduce our next speaker and one of our great advocates. Tim Fallon is the CEO Emeritus of Lehigh Valley Public Media and a longtime PA Early Learning Investment Commission Commissioner. Tim?
Thank you. And I'm so jealous that Senator Schwank can read that small type, and I have this blown up to 30 and I still need my glasses. So thank you very much, Senator Schwank. It's an honor to join you and your colleagues here today. As the Senator said, I am a longtime commissioner for the Early Learning Investment Commission. I have worked at the local as well as the state and now at the national level in raising awareness of the important once-in-a-lifetime benefits that high-quality early education provides to our children, as well as the need to invest in our teachers and early learning providers to ensure that these systems are able to serve working families who need them. As a business leader, I can tell you that a thriving child care and early learning sector is critical to the workforce of today and ensuring that we have the workforce of tomorrow that is ready to succeed in education, work, and life. The Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry and the Early Learning Investment Commission recently conducted an employer child care impact survey that underscores that labor force issues are often deeply intertwined with child care challenges. According to this survey, which was just released in February of this year, more than 80% of Pennsylvania employers surveyed said they have moderate to significant recruitment and retention issues due to child care. Almost 70% of the employers surveyed said it is extremely or very important to help employees meet those child care needs. Roughly 2/3 of those surveyed employers also noted that their employees have reported difficulty with backup child care plans when care is unavailable, and an overall shortage of local child care options. These results reinforce that child care is truly the workforce behind the workforce. They also help to explain the high economic losses associated with gaps in our child care system. Last year, the ELIC partnered with the nonprofit Ready Nation in releasing a report that shows the gaps in Pennsylvania's child care system cost working families, employers, and taxpayers approximately $6.65 billion, that is with a B, billion dollars annually in lost earnings, productivity, and tax revenue. The $6.65 billion cost estimate is the result of an economic analysis based on a survey of Pennsylvania working parents with children under the age of 5. Survey results provided evidence of the various ways in which parents' work commitments, performance, and opportunities are diminished by gaps in the child care system. For example, 60% of parents surveyed being late for work, leaving work early, or missing full days of work due to child care problems, and nearly half of them reported being distracted at work. More dramatically, 27% of working parents said they had to quit their job, and 18% have even been fired due to child care struggles. The bottom line is that high quality and reliable child care is something that is critical to the modern day workforce. Thank you. When parents don't have reliable, affordable, and quality child care, their work suffers, their productivity plummets, and they have difficulty advancing in their careers. Employers are paying increased attention to this issue. They want to be as supportive as they can for workers who have child care needs, both on a human level and because we understand that these parents will be able to focus and be more productive if they know their children are in nurturing, positive environments. Those businesses that can engage in private sector actions to supply workers with child care should do so. However, we have a lot of systemic issues facing our child care sector that must be addressed from a policy standpoint, and quite frankly, from an investment standpoint, especially as it relates to the teacher shortage and the adequacy of our payments in the subsidy system. Yes, indeed. Recognizing that Pennsylvania loses approximately $6.6 billion annually because of insufficient child care, there is a strong economic rationale for significant public investment. It is now my pleasure to introduce Representative Shelby Labs.
Thank you. As a mother of 2 little girls, one of whom is only 5 months old, the issue of childcare and early learning hits close to home for me. Watching young children grow, develop, and learn is nothing short of amazing. It seems like you blink and they're learning something new. Research backs this up. At no other time in life does the brain develop as fast as the time frame from birth to age 5. It literally sets the foundation for children's cognitive ability, health, and behavior throughout life. During these years, more than 1 million new neural connections form every second. It is truly amazing. This impact on children's long-term trajectory has been a motivating reason behind the strong bipartisan support for early care and education throughout the years. A new Susquehanna Polling and Research poll showed that 95% of Pennsylvania voters believe early childhood education is important to helping people lead healthy and productive lives. Additionally, from that same poll, 70% of Pennsylvanians support state funding to help child care providers recruit and retain their teachers. It is clear that Pennsylvanians want us to work together in supporting early care and education workforce. As a working mom, I understand the importance of childcare. I understand the challenges of finding quality care. I understand wanting a consistent and experienced teacher in an early learning classroom. I can appreciate the amount of stress families feel when childcare providers notify them that their child's classroom is closing because of staffing shortages. I look forward to working with my colleagues and co-chairs of the Early Childhood Education Caucus to build a bipartisan support to help childcare and other early learning providers recruit and retain their workforce. It's now my pleasure to introduce Lieutenant General Dennis Benshoff.
Thank you, Representative Labs. I'm pleased to be here with you on behalf of Mission Readiness. It's a group of over 1,000 retired admirals and general officers who value early childhood development programs such as Head Start, Pre-K Count, and so forth. We're concerned that the lack of a good Head Start will keep these children from realizing their full potential as young adults. That potential limits them in many ways. They can't take advantage of good job opportunities in the civilian community or the civilian sector, nor can they serve their country in the armed forces. Over 75% of all the children who graduate from high school today are not qualified for military service. This is alarming, considering that 30 years ago, when I was in uniform and in the Army Recruiting Command, only 50% were not qualified, and we thought that was a terrible condition. They're not qualified for 4 basic factors. They're not physically fit and cannot meet the Army's physical training requirements. They have problems with alcohol and substance abuse, or with authority in general, or they are medically disqualified because of overweight or hypertension. All these things can be corrected as a child develops from early childhood through to young adulthood. The competition for highly qualified people makes recruiting extremely difficult. We're trying to get people who have other options. They're going to college, or they're trying to seek well-paid jobs on the economy. All services missed their recruiting goals last year: the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. The worst was the Coast Guard, which only recruited 75% of the people that they needed and had to mothball ships as a result. Both the Pennsylvania National Guard and the Pennsylvania Air National Guard also missed their recruiting by 25% and 45% respectively. The lack of qualified enlistment is a national security issue, which is why we are involved. The U.S. Army, as a result of its shortfall last year, has had to inactivate some units. However, the Army and the Department of Defense in general shows us a way ahead. When I was commissioned 60 years ago, most of the enlistees were not married. They were bachelors. Many of our NCOs were likewise not married, and those who were married and had families, the wives took care of the children. There was no child care. Over the years, we raised pay. We started recruiting more women in uniform, and there was a need for child care. 30 years ago, there was no child care. The best we could do was encourage Army wives living on installations to open their homes as sort of a daycare. There was no training for them. They had very few resources. It became a recruiting issue. Since we had many two-parent households in the military, where both the husband and the wife served, so they needed dependable child care. The Department of the Army put resources to that challenge. It built facilities and also trained people to be child care providers, to provide educational opportunities, nutritional opportunities, and physical fitness opportunities so that military youngsters had a good start when they got to school. They also provided a pay scale that made the people who performed those operations for the military competitive with their peers. This adjustment has paid off, and we hope that Pennsylvania will follow this example in order to provide better child care for the young adults and the young people in the state. Thank you very much, and I'd like to introduce Representative Pat Harkins.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you. I have the privilege of serving the people of Erie County in the 1st District up in Erie. As such, it's fitting for me in this position to be one of the 4 co-chairs of the Early Childhood Education Caucus, which I actually founded 18 years ago when I was first elected. Thank you. It's great to be with so many providers, my colleagues, my friends, some constituents, great people coming out early this morning. I didn't expect to see so many people, but I'm very glad to see this. The Erie community has been a leader on efforts to ensure greater access to early childhood education and better support for the early learning workforce. For many years, community leaders have come together in Erie from many different sectors to explore solutions and invest at the local level. While I'm enormously proud of these efforts by my local community, it doesn't replace the need for the Commonwealth to act to better support child care and other early learning initiatives and their teachers. I know firsthand the difficult position faced by early learning providers. They are challenged to keep pace with the market wages, but they know that the families they serve can't afford to pay what it would take to accomplish this. This is a broken business model of child care and early learning. It's critical that we continue to elevate the rates for programs like Pre-K Counts and Head Start, state supplement assistance programs to get them closer to the competitive salaries found in K-12 systems, which also need an enormous amount of funding. It's also critical that we tackle the teacher shortage side of this child care crisis head on and now, looking to other state models on how to effectively invest in recruitment and retention initiatives for the child care sector must be a top priority in the Commonwealth right now. Along with business and military leaders, Pennsylvania law enforcement leaders have long supported investments in early care and education programs because of the impact on community safety. We owe it to the generations to come to do the right thing now. I'm pleased to welcome Indiana County Sheriff Robert Falk.
Thank you, Representative Harkins. It's an honor for me to be here today for this long overdue and much needed program that needs to be established. For more than 20 years, the Pennsylvania sheriffs, police chiefs, and district attorneys have supported public investments in early learning because we see it as a way for us to ward off problems that could lead to ongoing delinquency and even further to help with the crime being established. The research is clear that children who attend high-quality pre-care are more likely to self-regulate, get along with others, complete high school, and avoid juvenile delinquent behaviors and, again, potential crime when they became adults. In fact, the crime prevention benefits of quality early learning programs are one of the largest contributors to the return on investment generated by these programs. Quality pre-K and other early learning programs return an average profit to society of more than $22,000 per every child that was served. These analyses account for the economic benefits of both cutting crime and the cost of incarceration, reducing other costs such as special education, grade retention, and increased future wages. If you apply the figure to the roughly 30,000 Pennsylvania children who are currently served by the pre-K, Counts, and Head Start state supplemental programs, Pennsylvania realizes about $660 million in social benefits on the lifetime of the children that are being served every year. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We must do all we can to fight crime. Given the recent concern in our communities above crime and safety, it is distressing to hear that the proven invitations is like pre-K and other learning programs are struggling to maintain their teaching force. We must continue to support these teachers and make sure that the early learning systems are available to serve all of our communities. Doing so will help our communities to keep them safe in the future. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Senator Pat Stefano.
Thank you, Sheriff. Senator Pat Stefano, one of the co-chairs of the Early Childhood Education Caucus. And before we heard from a retired general about the importance of military and early childhood care for the military. So at that moment I want to recognize the Adjutant General who's with us from the Department of Military Affairs. Thank you, Adjutant, for joining us, General. We also have Secretary Henry from the Department of Corrections here, too. Very important parts of the administration understanding the importance of early childhood education. And I want to thank my co-chairs, all my colleagues in the Senate and in the House who've done an excellent job articulating the severity of the teacher shortage crisis that is plaguing our child care and other early learning providers. We all have to work together to prioritize the funding to help in the early learning sector to attract and retain its workforce. This is something that I've heard from early learning providers throughout my entire district. The district I represent is in the Southwest, Fayette, Somerset, and Bedford counties. And with that, I'm pleased to have one of those providers joining us here today, Dr. Leah Spangler. Dr. Spangler runs the Learning Lamp, a multi-site provider with 22 child care and preschool locations across the 6-county area of West Central PA. Altogether, she and the Learning Lamp serve over 900 children and families. Dr. Spangler has been a leading voice explaining how the child care business model is broken and why we are now in a position of losing so many of our child care and other learning teachers into better paying sectors within our economy. Before I welcome Dr. Spangler, though, I wanted to say a special thank you for all those students and children that are behind me. They have been so good sitting there. And it's great to see these are the students we have reached, these children. We have so much more yet to do, with so many more to reach. But with that now, Dr. Leah Spangler.
Thank you. The children truly the star of the show. Thank you, Senator Stefano. Many today have referred to a child care crisis. I personally don't think that's accurate. I think it's beyond crisis. Child care in Pennsylvania is on life support. Simply put, there's not enough care available for families who need it. The care that is available is too expensive, forcing many capable people out of the workforce. Pennsylvania's broken business model for child care is an enormous problem. Child care is a public service that needs additional investment. It's already been stated here this morning, but it's worth repeating. Pennsylvania's child care program simply cannot pay the wages that match those of other businesses like convenience stores and retailers paying up to $20 per hour. Because of this, Pennsylvania's child care industry is facing a staff shortage. High turnover as well, like never before. In fact, staff turnover at many child care programs exceeds 50% or more per year. That's an enormous turnover in classrooms, leading to lower quality based on staff leaving. When staff leave for jobs at Walmart, Sheetz, and Wawa, they leave because they can earn better wages to support their families. And that's causing a problem for child care programs across Pennsylvania. A Children's Hospital of Philadelphia Policy Lab survey counted roughly 3,300 job openings among 677 child care providers that responded to a survey. That survey counted about 10% of Pennsylvania's child care providers. If you look at that data on a larger scale, that's an awful lot of child care providers that are experiencing openings based on a lack of ability to pay competitive wages. In fact, if all job openings were filled, child care programs in Pennsylvania could serve an additional 165,000 children. That's a lot of children. To increase the supply of child care for working families, a state investment is needed to help programs recruit and retain their workforce. At my organization, which serves families in rural Bedford, Cambria, Somerset, Fayette, and Westmoreland counties, we have about 100 job openings, and we have 550 children on our waiting list. We cannot serve these children, not because we don't have the space in our child care centers, but because we cannot hire the staff to do the work, because the wages simply cannot compete with retailers in our region. If my organization were able to fill all of our job openings, we'd be able to care for an additional 1,300 children. That's more than twice the number of children we're currently caring for, and that is simply because of a worker shortage. Imagine the relief families on our waiting list would feel if they were able to find childcare and go to work to support their families. Imagine the contribution to Pennsylvania's economy and our local economy. As we heard earlier, the cost of doing nothing is more than $6.5 billion every single year. We have heard the problem, we have heard the solution, and we have heard the consequence for not taking action. The time is now for Pennsylvania to put its money where its mouth is, to raise workforce participation, which is a goal of the Commonwealth's new economic development strategy. Families need childcare, but it won't happen without public investment to help attract and retain quality early learning workers. Thank you.
I've heard Dr. Spangler speak several times now, and she comes from the heart, and she comes from the knowledge of exactly what's happening on the ground, not only in the counties that she serves and the centers that she operates, but all across this Commonwealth. There are people who cannot work or cannot get child care, cannot have their children in daycare, early learning slots. They're just all across the board. We have to do better than what we've done. So we're at the end of our conference. Again, I'm watching these kiddos with one eye, and I cannot believe how good they are too. Can we give them another round of applause? And I'm not going to ignore the people that are sitting, the adults that are sitting there with them as well, who have helped to keep them calm. Thank you, guys. Many of them, our heroic child care workers. Many of my colleagues had to leave, but they were here because they understand the importance of this, of this issue of providing child care. I'll give a quick shout out, I think she left too, was Representative Mary Jo Daley, Senator Brown, Senator Culver, Senator Haywood, Senator Capoletti, Dillon, and Senator Kane. All of them were here in support. Thank you to our amazing advocates and our staff, the folks from Pre-K for PA, Start Strong PA, and the PA Early Learning Investment Commission. All of these people have been working tirelessly to keep this issue on the front burner. This is the way to the future. You heard it from every single speaker, to a better future for our Commonwealth. I hope all of you will work with us as we try to make that one specific investment in our child care workforce. Are you with us? Come on. The time is now, and we're going to count on you for your advocacy. Thank you, everyone.